Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we're live now. We're recording. Hey, it's going to be a great day talking about some turkey hunting and archery and all kinds of fun stuff today. Hi, my name is Rory Canterbury, and I'm going to be your host on Archery Talk 101. And we have Rick on the line with us, and we're going to see what's going on in his world of archery. Welcome to the show, Rick.
I'm glad to be here.
So, how about if you introduce yourself and let everybody know a little bit about you and what you do and all the kind of fun
Okay.
stuff.
All right. Well, I am 67 years old. I've been hunting since I was in late part of high school. I never grew up hunting. Grew up in a small town in Western Kentucky called Paducah, Kentucky, and I lived there most of my life. A few years ago, we moved to the next county up, Livingston County, and we own a 83 acre or 82 acre farm. It's more of a big woods than anything. So that's I got started out like when I was in high school, hunting with some of my friends back in that time frame. I graduated from high school in 1974, so we were going camping with some of my friends. Never hunted before, and a couple of them were squirrel hunting, and that kind of intrigued me and my brother. So we ended up doing a little squirrel hunting, and that involved into deer hunting, that involved into turkey hunting, and I never did to get into the duck or goose hunting, which is popular in this area because we're around the Ohio River and Mississippi River and Tennessee River and Cumberland River. But so I was born and raised in a small town, but never was much of a hunter until I got into high school. That's involved several times since then, though. So I've really love hunting now. I bow hunted some for deer and turkeys early on and wasn't very successful until I kind of hooked up with some people that knew what they were doing. So that was always a big help. Getting in with somebody who actually knew how to do it and was kind of taught me a lot of things that I needed to learn. And I still am avid deer and turkey.
Yeah, I know when I first started, uh, deer hunting, archery, and didn't know anything about it. Me and buddy of mine, it was going out all the time, and we considered a good day if we seen footprints in the dirt.
Yeah,
You go along, it was wet, and they walked in the mud and left a footprint. That was a good day.
yeah,
That was an exciting day when we found footprints. Because we didn't know how to look for them, how to set up for them, and then it goes along. It's like, oh, this is a good day. We actually seen a deer. It might be on a driving down the highway coming back or something, but we've seen a live deer. And then
yeah,
and then we get to where now we're in our tree stand and now we're starting to see them more and you kind of evolve from you don't know what to do. And my first shot I had at a deer, I didn't take it because I didn't realize that was still a good shot.
yeah.
I could see the
Well,
vitals, but there's tall grass, and it's like, okay, I don't know.
well, it's when you're young and dumb. That's what I was. I had to have somebody kind of. I read what I could and tried to soak up a lot of stuff that way. But just actually going with somebody who knew what they're doing is a major deal for me. I know one of the guys that I hunted with early on. I said, Jack, I said, you kill a nice buck just about every year. I said, tell me the just one thing that would help me kill a big deer every year. He said, don't shoot the little ones. So sometimes it's as simple right in front of you, but it sometimes when the deer shows up, if it's brown, it was down too, kind of thing. But
Right? Yeah.
in the early days, when I first started hunting, there wasn't very many places for me to actually hunt in Kentucky. There was a few places like Land Between the Lakes, which is a national recreation area, and Fort Campbell, Fort Knox, Ballard County had a game reserve, and they had hunting down there. But there wasn't really any open counties to speak of in Kentucky until they started bringing deer in and trading and moving them around and trapping and releasing them, just like a lot of states are that way. But the opportunities were just kind of slim back then. So my wife and I, when we moved to a farm that my grandfather had owned back in 1990, it's kind of like I saw a deer track and I saw a deer the other day, and they were starting to multiply and to get into the county. So it was a neat process to watch them go from not much to the numbers we have today.
Yeah, I know. One of the things I read a long time ago, back at the turn of the century, they never thought deer would be a viable game animal to shoot because there just wasn't that many. And
Yeah,
and then you go into, here in Nebraska, a few years ago, they started having what they call the season choice tags, which allowed you to take during archery season, you could take with a bow, firearms you can take with a gun, muzzleloader so you could take with a muzzleloader, and those were two deer on one tag, and you get as many as you wanted. So when I had my store as a deer check station, and I talked to guys that they'd shot 20 plus deer legally, shot that many deer.
mm,
And because it's so popular, that there was so much population that it was crazy. And then, of course, now they still have the same tag, but they don't issue unlimited number of them. They'll
yeah.
issue so many and then they run out. So get yours early.
Well, Kentucky, it's been one of those states that's kind of been up and coming in the Boone Crockett deer. It's now, according to Google, and everybody believes what Google says, but
Right.
it's number 6 in the nation on numbers of Boone and Crockett deer because we have a 1 buck limit in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Well, I think that makes you think a lot more before you go to shoot a deer if it's going to be something you really want to shoot or just you just want to meet kind of thing.
Yeah. And if you're just looking for meat, shoot the does.
Yes, exactly. But anyway, that's the one reason I think that more than anything that's helped us is the one buck limit. And it's as a sportsman, I mean, I'd rather kill 4 or 5, but to keep the quality of the deer up, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, that keeps a lot of people from shooting the small bucks. Let them go because you only get one. Why would you
Yes,
want to shoot a small one when you have them? And if you have a large number buck population, they're going to be out more.
yes,
If you
and,
have a high
and
number of does and small number of bucks, then they don't have to go out and chase them.
right, and everybody's different. Some people are weekend warriors. They might get a weekend off to hunt, and one thing or another, it all plays in on what your target is for. Do you want to kill an 8 pointer? Do you want to kill a 6 pointer, a 10 pointer? I mean, everybody's got in their mind what they want to do, but sometimes time and money come into play on stuff as far as how many times you can go and where you can go and that kind of things.
Yeah, that plays a lot into it. And the area you have. Do you have a private property? You have public property you're hunting, and on your private property, do they move during the day or are they moving at night? I've got
Yes.
I've got one that's really good property. A lot of deer go through there, but it's normally about 10 o'clock at night to 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, how do we get them to change during the day? Go through there during the day, and that's kind of the challenge is what can you do to get them out there? Now with all the snow we've got, food's going to get them there.
Yes, definitely. Well, deer are kind of more now after basically our bow season goes out on Monday, Martin Luther King Day, and then so it's going to be the survival mode now. They passed through the rut and they've done their thing there, and now it's to make it to the spring green up. So
Yeah. Yeah, our archery season ended December 31st. Then they had a late rifle season that goes to, I think, the 15th. I think it's this weekend as it goes through. But there's so much snow that I don't know if I get back to where I hunt.
yeah, the weather does make a big difference on what happens.
Yeah.
I know a few years ago I hunted in Missouri. I was turkey hunting in Missouri, and I killed a pretty nice, what I thought a pretty nice gobbler, and I checked it in and all this, and they weighed it. It weighed 15 and a half pounds. And I was talking with the game warden over there and asking him about it, and he said we had a winter that there was snow on the ground most of the year, and half of the first year birds died because they couldn't find enough to eat, and the rest of them just basically survived. So typically, you kill a bird like that he weighs 20 pounds or more. But because of the harsh winter, they just were hanging on to survive to the spring.
Yeah, that's yeah, the last couple of years we didn't have hardly any snow, so there's always, grass or something that they could get to. But this year, we had about 5 inches here, um, beginning of the week, and then now we've got another 4 or 5 in here, and the wind at, you know, 25-mile-an-hour winds, creates quite a few drifts, and
They're definitely in the survival mode now.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah, and I don't want to take the four-wheeler out, which would get back to my area because I
Yeah.
got about 2 miles of drive on a four-wheeler with no windshield.
Yeah, that's not very pleasant.
No, no, not when it's not even up to zero. Yeah, the wind chill going down a four-wheeler at, you know, 20 mile an hour is going to be pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of different ways to hunt deer or any kind of bow hunt or whatever that I know in Kentucky that our season comes in real early for bow for deer. It comes in the first Saturday in September. And you look at the numbers of the deer they kill in September. A lot of people don't want to get out there in the heat.
Right,
If you are to harvest a deer, you better take care of him pretty quickly. And then October, it's not that many deer killed either. There is a muzzleloader season in Kentucky there, but you hit November when in the rut, that's about 80% of the deer killed in Kentucky are probably killed during that November time frame during the rut when the gun season's there. There's not near as many bow hunters as there are gun hunters. So, I mean, that all plays in too. But I enjoy doing them all. But you get out there too early. It's like you can kill a velvet buck in Kentucky the first couple of weeks probably, and after that they get hard antlers. But it's a challenge. But you just never know. What kind of passion do you have for it, or how much time do you have to go chase after them?
yeah,
And I
that's the
so
biggest key is how much time do you have?
yeah, how much time? And it takes a lot of time generally for bow hunting.
Yeah,
Now I've owned like three different bows in my career, so I haven't had a lot of bows, but I had the old bear whitetail hunter when I first started hunting. It's an antique, I'm sure now for sure. And then I had
yeah,
a later on I ended up with a PSE, and then now I have a Hoyt bow. But the bows nowadays a lot of them are very similar. That they're tremendous speeds now, but they're tremendous cost with them too.
yeah, yeah. They're quite pricey nowadays, and I know I started off. My brother bought a bear whitetail too, and that was the first compound I shot.
Yeah.
And I had that. And then my first bow I bought was made by American, and the model is a Challenger. And I had that for a few years until it actually broke in half. Um, and then at that time, High Country had bought them out, so they replaced it with a High Country bow, and that was nothing but problems. And I got rid of that, and then got my first PSE, and then um, I got probably end of the 90s, I got my first Matthews. It was a Q2.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, I bought a sporting goods store, and I was a archery dealer for PSE. So I went down there, and then I got actually my PSE I got in 2001. I still have it. That's my hunting bow. And
Yeah.
then a couple of years later, they come with another model, and I got one of those. So I have two of those. And then my recurve is also a PSE. When I was working at Cabela's, what we'd do at the store here in La Vista, we would get in big old pallets full of returned and defective bows. And because we had we knew what we was doing on fixing bows, we'd
Yeah.
take, okay, here is 3 bows, the same identical bow. This has got a bad part. So we put them on, make one together, because we sold used bows as well. So we
Yeah.
take all the good parts, make a good bow, hang it up, put it on a rack for sale as a used bow. Because you can't sell them as new.
Yeah.
There's nothing really wrong with them, but we went through and did all that, and we had a couple of bows I was able to get really, really cheap. The one I have left is a bear. It's in their snow camo. I forget which the model was, but the model at that time sold for $900 just the bow.
Wow.
And I got it for, I don't know, it's like $150 or something like that. But it needed a new string. The cable stop, the string stop on it was messed up, so I had to fix that. But didn't take much. I fixed that. I made a new string because I make strings. So, mostly just for myself. Now, when I have my store, I made strings for all my customers. But
Yeah.
so I made a string, got all set up. It's downstairs in my gun safe, and I've never set it up. I've just used it with 2 PSEs.
Yeah. Well, I know back when I first started hunting, we shot aluminum arrows,
Yeah,
and now most of them now are the are the are the
yeah,
I
the
guess
carbon ones now. I
carbon one
I
now.
started
There's
with aluminum.
and there's a lot of variations in bows versus the kind of arrows you shoot and what matches with this one and matches with that one. But to get up to shoot an animal with a bow, it's up close and personal. It has to be pretty close for the most part.
Yeah,
And that was always the draw for me, is to trick a deer or get it in his zone, his comfort zone, and be able to shoot him with a bow and him not even know you're there. And that's the part of the passion right there, is to beat the animal on his own turf, so to speak.
yeah. That my first deer I shot was about 40 yards away, and I was about 20 feet up in the air to get over the brush to get to where the trail was.
Yeah,
And then since then, I've shot a couple at 20 yards, but most of them been under that. I even had them
yeah,
walk underneath my tree stand.
yeah, yeah.
Like, okay, I can't shoot you that close. Go away.
Get away a little bit. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
had that happen too. But it's just the fun part of it is being able to be there and them not know you're there by getting to your stand and leaving your stand and being using the scent control and using the wind and all the different factors that come in, thermals and everything else, to be able to kill one in a close range. That's just the thrill, some of the thrill of it.
Yeah, it's kind of nice when you have them in close, that 10 yards and sometimes a little less than that. I know a lot of mine that I've shot have been about 10 yards away. Even though I set up
Mhm.
on what I think is a 20-yard shot, they don't ever come in
They
20
don't follow
right?
the script, do
No, they come in closer.
they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're in an area where you have a lot of deer going through. And I know one time I went out and I only had like 3 arrows. Normally I carry a whole quiver full of arrows. And I made 3 bad shots, missed 3 deer, and the deer kept walking by for about an hour. I'm sitting here with no arrows, and the deer just walking by that trail, walking by that trail.
That
One
was
of
a
the
good
time I
trail.
went out with just 3 arrows.
Yeah.
Was there two
Well,
or 3 arrows? I forget now, but I didn't have any set up because I'd shot them and I hadn't really set them back up, and it's like I only need a couple shots. Yeah, well, because I had tags for 2 deer
yeah. Well,
and didn't get any that night.
now that's part of hunting. It's why they call it hunting and not killing.
Yeah. Well, and of
Because
course
sometimes,
I've shot 2 deer in the same night within minutes of each other. One coming from one way, and I shot that one, and it took off running. I turned around and because I'd heard another one coming the other direction, and got ready and shot that one, and then I had to haul out and clean 2 deer.
yeah, yeah, that'll wear a man out.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely did that night because we had to go one way to get to one, and the other one went the other way. And fortunately, the one run towards down here we had the hill where we had to go anyway. The other one run the opposite direction.
When I first started bow hunting, and I started out on public, and after several years of public hunting, a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to get on a lease with him, so we did. And there was more than one. The biggest thing is you have a piece of private ground, you have more control of it. But you'd be in a public place and you'd have somebody go past your stand just walking through the woods. So
Yeah.
that wasn't just a lot better to be on private if it's possible. But I mean, that's just the way it is. But the difference between public and private is the main thing. But that's where I started was public land. And
Yeah,
I
that's where I
still,
started. Public
as it
property.
now, I haven't done it in a while, but I might someday do it again. But you never know. Because I own this farm right now, it's a lot you can do maintenance to it and set things up, and hopefully will contribute to the making more wildlife available for you. So anyway, and it's less other people interfering with your hunt.
Yeah, that's true. When you're on private property, you generally will know who else is going to be out there. And if
Yeah.
there's somebody else out there, then lots of times, the farmer would tell you, hey, we got somebody else going to be out there. And like, okay.
Yeah, I can remember back when I first was hunting and it land between the lakes is mainly where I started at. I had just had my bow and a bottle of water maybe and very few other things. Now I got a whole bag full of stuff. I got I got range finders and I've got thermocells and I've got just all these different other, and I don't know if I kill any more deer particularly, but I still got to carry a whole lot more things into the woods nowadays. Things that I think I have to have.
Yeah, kind of like me. I actually have my pack here, and I've got. Oh, I probably can't see too much of it here because it's moving far away. So this one
Yeah.
is my rifle. I got an orange one. I got a padded one, and then in here I have all kinds of stuff. I even keep a wool blanket on the bottom. Just so
And
that
we
when you
got
go
a lot
out
more,
in the wintertime, you always have a little extra stuff.
yeah, we got a lot more gadgets nowadays than we used to.
Yeah, I'll carry a piece of rope with me, and then I have a rope that has a couple of hooks on the end of it. Those work kind of nice. I have what, probably three knives in my case, my backpack here. Um, I have a multi tool in there, one of the great big multi tools. I have fire starter stuff. I got gloves in there. I got masks, got binoculars. I got the deer calls. I got the rangefinder. Um, yeah, I think the thing probably weighs 30 pounds.
Yeah, we kind of evolved into all that. Not to say none of them. I mean, I use all of them for the most part, but still, I didn't know half of them were when I first started hunting.
Yeah. And then, when I went out during the rifle season, I took my tripod because I want to take some videos on my phone. So I had the tripod, and then I've got a little short, like a turkey chair, sit down
Yeah.
really low. So I'm carrying that plus carrying a rifle, and carrying all that out there. And yeah, it was a lot of work. Fortunately, I could drive across the field. I only had to walk down, maybe 50 yards, 100 yards, maybe.
Yeah. Well, it's a whole lot easier to get a deer out if you got a way to do it too versus dragging one.
Yeah, yeah. This one I could probably pretty much, if I needed to, I could grab the four-wheeler or I could grab the truck. And now I wouldn't because all the snow. I don't want to take the truck out there because it'd get stuck. It's
Yeah.
drive, but I could always it's not too far, so wouldn't be too bad. But we got one time when we just flipped it on the back of the four-wheeler and hauled it out, and you know that's a nice way to do it. And when it's a little bit nicer weather, you can drive that 2 miles from the hunting property or 1 mile from the hunting property back. Because I've got one property that I drive a mile out to the highway, and then right across the highway is the land. So it's like 80 some acres, mostly cornfield. And
Yeah.
the other one, I drive down the gravel road for 2 miles and turn down another half mile or so, and that's where the other one's at. And but it's either alfalfa or corn or beans in there. Most of the deer move around the outside along the property line. There's really no forested area other than the property line. So they go through there, and I've got some pretty good pictures. I had pictures one night. These two small bucks come in, and I've seen them there several times walking around together. Well, this one time they're in there and they're kind of sticking their nose at each other, kind of all not really fighting, but kind of almost like playing around, fighting.
Sparring.
Yeah, a little light sparring, and then they both walked off together. Yeah,
Yeah.
I put that video together and put it up in the Archery Talk 101 Facebook group. I put it out there, so as my YouTube channel. and fellows want to look at that, the YouTube channel is Learn to Fix It Yourself. So I'll go out there and look for that, and there's all kinds of stuff I put out there on that.
Yeah.
All the podcasts go there. So if you want to watch the podcast, and because sometimes we'll talk about stuff that's easier to do for actually seeing it, kind of hard to describe, when you're some stuff. So
Yeah.
that's nice thing about the videos, and that's why I do it in the video format, just because it's easier. Then I have the video and the audio, and then next I'm using Zoom, and it does separate it into a separate file. So when I'm uploading the podcast, I just upload the audio file. I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about converting it out of the video, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's fun talking to archers all over the world.
Yeah. I know. I have two sons. One of my sons hunts with me, and the other one really not that interested in hunting. But bought him a Matthews bow for Christmas one year. Went to a NWTF banquet. They had a bow on the auction, and I ended up buying it. He killed a deer with it. I think that may be the only one he's killed, but here on my property. But being able to hunt with my son, and I've got some friends that I've had pretty much lifelong friends through the hunting to keep us the vehicle to keep us together, so to speak. So it's been a good thing over my hunting career to have a buddy to hunt with. Now a lot of times I hunt by myself, but I enjoy hunting with other people too. So it's not a totally independent way to do things, but I mean you do have your buddies, and we used to camp together and whatnot and stuff. And I've just a good rapport between like-minded people on the hunting.
Right.
And I've enjoyed that over the years. Plus, it's kept me and my son doing stuff together too. So
It's
he
good to have
lives
to
in,
talk with somebody, because then when you get something down, you have somebody to help you pull it out.
yeah, that's true too.
We went through that. Some of the private property we had several years back, it was quite a pull just to get it down to where we could get it to a vehicle, and that it helps to have two people there to do that, because it's quite a bit to pull some of these big deer by yourself.
Yes. And the older I get, the less I can pull anymore days. It's just,
Yeah.
it wear me out.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, because I'm a year older than you are, is all. So yeah. I know what you're going through.
For this Christmas, I got one of these things. I have a electric golf cart that plugs into the receiver like a trailer hitch, and then you can crank your deer up.
Oh yeah.
Winch it up, and it swings, and you swing the deer around and drop it in the bed at the back of it. So
Yeah,
I haven't used it yet, but I got it for Christmas, so hopefully I'll be able to use it. Hopefully soon, or it'll be next year, next deer season. That'll help me from having to pick up. I can't pick up a 150-pound deer anymore and put it on the back of my 4-wheeler or whatever. I just have to drag it out with it, that tie a rope around it and drag it.
Yeah,
if I'm by myself.
Get you one of the little bobsleds and tie it around the bobsled and pull it out that
Yeah,
way.
drag it out that way.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit more when you have you don't have quite the strength you used to do, and I'm learning more and more. It's like, here, help me with this. I don't
Yeah,
do it anymore. Let somebody else help you.
yeah, exactly. And it's fun to hunt with other folks too. And I run an outfitter business, so I have. And I'm not sure I'm going to do it again this next year, but still, it's the fact that you spend a lot of time looking and searching and trying to set other people up to be successful. And I spend a lot of days in the woods, and we do haul out a bunch of deer too. So, but there's usually a couple of us to take care of that. I've got people here, and I have 3 different farms I hunt. I have my farm, and I've got another farm. It's similar to what you were talking about. It's a lot of agriculture. There's a ridge between 2 ag fields. One had corn in it this year, and the other one had beans in it. Then the other farm that I have leased is one that's pretty much just a big woods. It's not much ag around at all, hardly, but it's a little more difficult to hunt it, especially early on, because they're after the food early on, and then toward the rut, then everything kind of explodes. So but I still enjoy getting after them.
Yeah, it's fun getting out there, and I know it can be a challenge as we get older, getting out there and getting that done. It's like, and going by yourself, knowing that if you get something, it's like, okay, how am I gonna
Yeah,
do this? I need to take a block and tackle so I can raise it up to field dress it and get it raised in the back of the four-wheeler or on the back
well,
of the truck.
one of the things happened to me last year, and I killed my buck last year in late September. Killed a pretty nice 8-point buck. It wasn't the target buck that I was really after, but the deer came in as the light was fading, and I was getting ready to get down. I reached up and I had my crossbow with me that day. Got a hold of my crossbow, and I saw antlers about 30 yards from me. And 20 yards, I shot it. It was an 8-pointer, but it wasn't the one I wanted. But about 2 or 3 weeks later, I was sitting in the exact same stand. And here comes the big deer, the target buck. And I've already killed my one buck in Kentucky.
Oh,
So I get out my cell phone, I video the deer. He's a fairly young deer, but he had a monster rack, probably I say monster, 140, 150 class deer. And I just had the video, and that's all I could do
yeah.
legally.
Well,
So
next year.
yeah, one of my other hunters actually shot the deer uh, a week or two later. It didn't make a good hit on it. They never did recover the deer. So that
Oh, that
kind
sucks.
of broke my heart.
Yeah.
So that's part of hunting though, but not the part you like, not
No.
recovering the deer. But he was bow hunting with me, and he had the deer at, he wasn't sure. He got his rangefinder out. Some battery was down or something. It didn't give him any range. So he just guessed, and he shot, and he shot just a little bit back, and didn't make a good shot. And we didn't recover the deer. So he called a guy, and he brought a dog out the next day and tracked it for a little while, and it never could find the deer. So that's archery is pretty tough when it's like that.
Yeah. Well,
But
and it
you
may
can do the
not have
same
been
thing with a
fatal.
gun. So
Yeah, it may not have been fatal. He still may be around and just run long ways and the dogs
yeah,
track it because if it was down fairly close, the dogs you would have thought would have found it.
yeah. But he went down and crossed off our property that I leased, and I talked to the guy that owned the next property, and he said, "Yeah, come on over and look." And then tracked it, and he circled back around, come back the other side of the ridge, but we never did find the deer. So, but it is part of the hunting that you don't like. It's not recovering what you shoot.
Yeah, we've all been in that position where we've
If you hunt
shot
long
something.
enough, you will be.
Yeah. If you say you've never done that, you've probably never taken a shot. Or you're just
Probably so.
lucky.
Yeah, very lucky.
You hunt long enough, you're going to get some bad shots.
Yeah. Well, this year I passed up a tremendous amount of nice bucks because the next deer I was going to kill this year is going to be my number 100 deer, and I passed up a lot of deer thinking I'll hopefully get to the big boy, but I never did, and I finally shot a doe right after Christmas. Basically, I was running out of season. I thought I better put some meat in the freezer. The
Yeah.
idea was to kill the great big one on for my 100th, but it didn't work out that way.
Well, you got meat in the freezer.
I do have meat in the freezer.
You
Been
can't
eating
eat,
on
you
some.
can't eat the racks.
No, it's true. You cannot eat them. I haven't tried yet, but that's what they tell me.
I don't think it tastes very well.
No, I don't think so either. I've
Just
never seen a recipe for that anyway.
just cutting them up, because I've used antler to make different things, and if you're not wearing a respirator, it smells like you're at the dentist's office.
Yeah.
Grinding on your tooth. Well,
Yeah,
it's basically the same type of material. So,
exactly. Yeah, I've been there too.
but the
I
racks make some nice looking things when you make stuff out of them.
yeah. Well, it costs too much money for me to mount all my deer, so I'll just cut the racks off of them and put them on a plaque.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
anymore. Unless it's a monster, I will. If it's a monster, I might have another one.
Then you got room where you're going to put them all too.
Yeah,
If you mounted every buck you shot, that you'd have lots of them. And I figure your first buck you shoot, you can mount that, and then if you shoot a bigger one, I think
yeah,
you can only shoot them as they get bigger than what you already have.
yeah,
And the rest of them you don't mount because it's not bigger than what you already have.
exactly. Yeah. But anyway, it's all been fun over the years. And I would have when I was growing up, I have a brother, one of my brothers is a year and a half younger than me. So my mom, dad wouldn't let us do a lot of stuff individually, but as long as we were together, we got to do a lot of stuff together. So we tried golf, we tried hunting, we tried this, we tried that. And I ended up in the hunting realm and he ended up as playing golf a lot. So everybody's got their own passion they chase after.
Yeah, as long as you got something that you go do, and um, that's what's nice about doing these podcasts, because it's something I get to go do, and it's a lot of fun
Yeah.
talking to them and hearing all the
Sure.
stories. And um, I know you probably got some stories as long as you've been hunting. What has been the most challenging hunt you've been on?
Well, it was a couple of years ago as a turkey hunt. I went over to this. I live in Western Kentucky. Went over near Lexington, south of Lexington. A guy had offered to take me hunting over there, and I went over there. And he actually worked on this monster buck ranch, but we couldn't hunt there. But we went to a place called Dix River Wildlife Management Area. There, first day we got after a bird, and he was gobbling. We got in pretty close, and then he flew down. He flew down off the refuge on the private ground. Well, we tried to call to him, but he was on private and he was going the other way. Well, the next day we went back in there, different bird, different location on that spot, and he was gobbling. We got back to him and kind of did the same thing. He flew down off the refuge. He just roosted right on the edge. He went up on this. I got my Onyx out and looking. He went up on this big knob up above us, about 100 foot across an open field. So we couldn't go across there because we were hunting on the refuge. We didn't have permission to go over there. So the guy with me, John Clay, he is a heck of a turkey hunter. I said, John, when that turkey gobbles, I want you to gobble back at it. So we did that, and every time he'd gobble back at him. And we did the fighting purrs. We did sound like a whole flock of turkeys over here. And after a while, the bird started getting closer. He came down off that big knob across the field, and I saw him out in the field coming our way, and I got set up on him, and I had one spot I could get a shot at him if he got to that point. So I sat up there and got ready for it. After it's about an hour, we worked this bird. And finally, he got into that position, and I shot him 62 yards. But I would have bet $100 that we wouldn't have been able to call that bird from where he was at to where we were at because of the change in elevation. I guess he got over there where his normal strutting spot was, and there wasn't no ladies over there. So he finally decided, I'm gonna go join the party where I hear all them turkeys at. So he eventually came and killed him, but it was like I said, it was one I would have bet $100 he'd never come, but he did. So
Yeah,
patience, I
you
guess.
never know.
Patience. No, that was one more recent hunts, but there's been a lot of the first buck I ever killed with a bow. Uh, I was hunting at Land Between the Lakes. My brother and I were hunting there. We had hunted that morning and we got down late morning, like 9:30 or so, and got something to eat and whatnot. And was looking around and I got down and I followed this dry creek through the woods, and I sat down, was taking a break, and I look up and there's a 10-pointer coming down the trail that I had been on just outside that creek. I guess he smelt me. He took off, and I thought, I think I'm going to move my stand down here close to where I just saw this buck. So I got with my brother and told him what I was doing, and he was hunting the same place he was, and got set up that afternoon, and early afternoon, it's probably 3:30, 4 o'clock. This little buck comes through there. He's like a 6 pointer, and I'd never shot a buck before anyway. So the buck comes in behind me about 20 or 30 yards, and I couldn't get a shot at him. And he went on down past me 100 yards or so, and then I had some of that Tink's scent out in front of me. That was in heat, and he turns around and comes right to that Tink's, and I shot him. And that dude jumped, run off about 50 yards, and he was looking right my direction, just standing there. And I'm thinking, I know I hit him. He just stood there and stood there and stood there. Finally, I've been standing the whole time in my stand. And finally, he just lays down. This is going to be good. So I sat down when he laid down, and then he jumps up over the ridge. He went. I'm thinking, oh man, it's my hopefully the first deer I could kill. Well, I get down, I find my arrow and find blood, and walk over to where he was at, and there's a pool of blood there. And so I go get my brother. I said, we got to track this deer. And I got up in my stand. I said, I don't know if you see a lot of blood or not, but he went over the hill. He said, here he is. He just hadn't gone very far, but I was afraid that deer was gone and I wasn't going to see him again. But it was a little 6 point buck, but that was the first buck I ever killed with a bow.
Yeah, that's you just never know. And they lay down, and did you get a good hit, not get a good hit?
Yeah.
Did you just decided to walk out there and lay down, or did you shoot them?
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of strange, but it made me wonder for sure. Until you got your hands on him, you wonder.
Yeah. Until you get him field dressed, you can still get up and go, right?
Yeah. And I did shoot a deer one time several years ago with a gun. I'd always usually shoot him in the broadside, heart and lungs. And I thought I always do that. And this time this doe came in. I said, I'm going to shoot this deer in the neck. Then I can tan the hide and hang it on the wall and all this kind of stuff. Well, I shoot and the deer just boom, falls down right there. I'm sitting there just looking at it and thinking, that was easy. And then I heard something to my right, and I looked over to my right, and there's a squirrel. And I looked back, and the deer's standing up.
Oh,
And then before I could do anything, the deer takes off. I don't know if I just grazed the deer or it's like it's knocked him out or what, but that deer was gone, and I went over there, very little, hardly any blood at all. I guess I just grazed him and knocked him out. I don't know. It was weird. I
yeah.
never did recover that deer.
Yeah, just knocked him out. Yeah, not knocking out deers. We Friend of mine, we were coming back from hunting this property, and we come across this deer that had been hit by a vehicle alongside the road, and you could tell the back end was broke, and
Yeah.
it just kind of can crawl with the front legs. And here in Nebraska, if you call in and get a roadkill permit, and then it's your deer, because whoever hit it obviously didn't want it because they're gone.
Yeah.
We call, and then of course we know not to get up and start basically chasing the deer because it's going to start crawling. Well, the sheriff shows up. He gets out there. Next thing you know, the deer's crawling across the road. And this is a highway, not just a regular road. This is a highway. So cars are driving, 50, 60 mile an hour. And here's this deer crawling with the front legs across the other side of the road. So then he gets out his gun and he shoots. Well, then it's just laying down. So I grab a knife, I'm going to go up and slit its throat so that we can get it clean somewhere. I go to grab a hold of it, it starts moving. So I have to hurry up and cut the throat so that it'll start bleeding out. And come to find out later, it's like, wait a minute, there was more antler. The cop missed the whole deer and hit the antler and broke the antler off. Basically just knocked it out.
Strange things.
And this is only like about 5 yards away.
Oh boy.
It's like, you thought he'd been a little better shot than that.
You didn't know he missed it though at the time, probably.
Yeah, at time I didn't know he missed. I didn't know where he hit it or anything because I didn't really see anything, but I wasn't taking the time to go examine the deer to see
Right.
where he
Yeah.
shot it. And here it was, I looked down, looked close. Sure enough, that bullet hit that antler and busted part of the antler off.
Mm.
Yes, it was crazy. So then we took it back to our area and we cleaned it and then brought it home. But yeah, that was definitely an interesting knockout story.
Well, there's a lot of different things that happened over the years, but those are some of the ones I can really remember right off the top of my head. But there was one time that early in my hunting career, and when I first started on a hunting lease, and I shot like a 5 point buck, and I shot it and it just dropped, and there were some big rocks and other things around. I couldn't see it anymore. It wasn't like 50 yards away. So I sat there for 30 minutes or so, and then I just couldn't stand it any longer. I decided to get down because there's other people hunting on this lease with me, so I didn't want to get tromping around through the woods. It just right after daylight anyway.
Yeah.
I get up, go over there and look, and the deer's dead. So I go get back in my stand. I get to the very top of my platform, and I look on the other side of my tree, and there's like a 12 pointer walking through the woods away from me, thinking, man, if I just waited, if I'd had enough patience, I might have had a 12 pointer instead of a 5 pointer. But that's part of
Yeah, when you only get one, that's
it.
you know, yeah, do you wait and not get one, or do you take one now and then have another one come by? And I know here in
Yeah,
Nebraska we have two archery tags. Two deer allow you to take a buck. So with two archery tags, I could shoot two bucks
yeah,
or two does, any however you put them together. Now the season choice they're all antlerless deer, because of
yeah,
population control. There it's got to be 6 inch or less antlers. Because if they're less than their ears and they can hide, you can't really tell. So
yeah,
that's what they consider antlerless. Anything less, if it sticks up above the ears or you see them, yeah, don't shoot
yeah.
because it's you don't want to take a chance.
Well, I think in Kentucky they kill approximately 150,000 deer every year, and you drive down the road, you see a lot more of them side of the road too. But I don't know how many y'all harvest or kill in Nebraska.
I don't know.
Kentucky has a telecheck system, and you can go online and look at the harvests over the years and stuff. But it's a pretty good tool to use.
Yeah, I haven't really looked if Nebraska has one or not. I'm sure they probably do.
But it's been a learning experience all the way through my career. Because starting from high school, knowing really nothing about it until now, where had been an outfitter for the last 5 years or 6 years, and to just learn how to go to your stand, approach your stand, and try to be scent free. And because a deer are they got their senses of smell and senses of hearing and senses of sight that most of them are better than a human. So it is definitely hard to get up close and personal with a bow sometimes with the deer nowadays,
Yeah.
unless you just do a lot more intentional stuff now than I used to. And I don't know if it's any difference on any of the camo patterns or different things. I don't think that matters as much as the smell and the just being quiet and getting in and out of your stand quietly.
Yeah, if they don't see you and don't hear you and don't smell you, then you're good.
Invisible.
Yeah.
You
Mostly it's
think you are.
smelling.
Yeah. It's been fun though over the years. And like I said, I've met a lot of good people through my times of hunting with different people and just and keeping old friends too from years past, hunt together and whatnot.
Yeah, that's always nice when you can, hunt with some people for a while. And I know the one guy I was hunting with for many years, he died a few years back, so we don't really get out as much as I used to. And it was a lot of fun. We go to like 3D shoots, and it was the challenge of the day. We didn't care if we come in last and next to last.
Yeah.
What we cared about is did I beat Randy or Randy beat me this time? That's all we
Exactly.
cared about. It's like
Yeah.
who got to give the crap on the way home and who got to receive it. Well, next week
Yeah.
it'll be different. So, it's like we didn't we just went there to have fun amongst the two of us, and then take the boys out and stuff like that. So it was more just kind of hey, go out and have fun. We didn't care where we placed because it really didn't matter because they'd always put them like in three different groups.
Yeah.
At 30 archers, they'd put the top 10 scores be in one group, then the next 10 in another group, and the next 10. So you could actually beat somebody by 1 point, end up last place, or end up with a first place trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you beat him by 1 point, but yet he got a first place trophy. you know,
Yeah.
so we never worried about that. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever.
It's just, yeah, I know I went over to a friend's house last night. When I turned 60, my wife gave me a birthday party and a retirement party and for like our 40th anniversary or whatever. Y'all did it all in one thing. So since then, some of my old high school buddies and we play cards once a month. We rotate houses, and you'd think that we were mortal enemies. We tell stories or lies and aggravate. And you couldn't tell. My wife said, "I can't believe you guys talk that way to each other." But it's just it's the way what guys do. As long as you're having fun, aggravating each other, that's all. It's a lot of fun doing that. And
Yeah,
we've
it's kind of nice when you get together. We have my wife and her son come over every weekend, and a friend of ours comes down. We play cards pretty much every weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, whichever.
yeah
This week it'll be Sunday because ain't nobody driving anywhere today. Tomorrow, yeah, roads
yeah.
be too bad tomorrow, so I think it's Sunday when she's coming down, and we play cards every week, and it's kind of fun.
Those there's guys that I still see that I hunted with occasionally on back and forth a long time ago. It's just keep tabs with them and got good old friends. Just when you get older, that your life gets more complicated and your family and you lose track of other people a lot of times.
Yeah,
So if you're and it's good to get in touch with some of those guys again, different perspective because we all had good times together. We're all going different ways, but we still make time to get back together again. Same way for some of my hunting buddies. I still call some of them, even though some of them don't hunt anymore. Just to keep tabs on.
yeah, it's nice to get a hold of them sometimes. I know our high school has reunions and stuff now, and they get together, and um, there's people I went to high school with that I've talked to more recently than I talked to them the whole high school time. I never talked to them at
Yeah,
all. It's like
yeah,
there's people I never even said a word to in high school. Yeah, and now we get together and we talk a little bit on stuff. I don't hang around with any of them even now. So, um,
yeah,
but there's um, you'll learn a lot of stuff about some of these people, that stuff that they did that you later picked up and did, and something that they're doing. And
yeah,
I know this one lady, she was real big in competitive roller skating, and at the time in high school I just starting out, and then by the time she's getting out of it, I'm getting into it, and I
hmm
didn't know it until probably 5 years ago that she was actually a competitive roller skater.
yeah,
One of the
well,
guys that was a gymnast that I went to high school with. He don't live too far away from me. He's a bow hunter as well. So, um, there's a lot of stuff you have in common, and people that you'd known for many years, and some of them have changed so much you don't recognize them. It's like I recognize the name, I don't
yeah,
recognize the face,
yeah.
um, especially it's
And
not
there's
that you hung around with much in high school.
well, in high school, you were trying to figure out what you were going to do next and what
Yeah,
kind of career you were going to want, and which girls look this way and that way, and one thing or another. And then life happens and things change.
Yeah, they do.
But I have stuck with hunting, and I've had a lot of good times. My wife, I went a few years ago. I'm a big turkey hunter, and killed the Grand Slam on turkeys in the United States in 2004. It's been several years, almost 20 years ago. And then a couple of years later, I decided to go to Mexico and kill a Gould's turkey. And then I did that. And in 2010, I went to the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico and killed the ocellated turkey. And that's the World Slam, the 6 different subspecies of wild turkeys. And my wife said, "What do you get for doing that?" And I said, "Bragging rights." That's about all you're gonna get. Just something my personal challenge I wanted to do. So
Yeah.
but it is what it is, and that's just something I wanted to do. So my bucket list is a little shorter now, but still got a few things to knock off.
Yeah, that would be exciting to go out and get all the different 6 subspecies of
Yeah,
turkeys, and you probably hunt them a little bit differently, though, don't you?
yeah, you do quite a bit different, especially the ones down in Mexico. But for 5 of them are very similar. The one that's in the Yucatan, the ocellated, it doesn't have a beard, and it doesn't gobble like a traditional gobble you'd think. It has a noise it makes, but it's not exactly what I would call a gobble, but it's totally different. But anyway, it looks, it's the feathers on it. They're about half the size of our turkeys, and they have more of a peacock looking feather to them. But that's just something I wanted to go do. I don't speak a bit of Spanish. I went down there and with an outfitter and did that. And it was a unique experience, very unique. So
Makes a nice exciting trip when you go down there.
yes.
Especially have somebody help translate for you.
Well, we had a guide, and I think there was 2 hunters per one guide. And the first chance or no, no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. That was the ghouls that we had 2. But it was a different situation altogether. I said, "How do you call these birds?" And they said, "You don't." "Well, how do you kill them?" "We shoot them out of the tree." That just kind of goes against what I typically do. So, but that's the way they did it down there. So that's the way I did it. So,
Well, got to do what they do down there.
yeah. When you're in Rome, you do what the Romans do. When you're in Mexico, you do what the Mexicans do. That's the way they did it down there. So,
I had a guy one time take a dollar bill and fold it in half and used it for a call.
yeah.
It's like, okay. I don't remember what he did or what it was calling anymore. It just kind of stuck
Yeah.
on me. Just fold his bill in half and that's what, or stretch it out or something. I forget exactly what he did, but he just took paper money and
Yeah.
made a call out of it.
Yeah.
I don't
That
remember if it
would
was
be
turkey or
different.
deer, but
It
I
would
just
be
remember,
different for sure.
yeah, it's interesting, all the deer are a little different and all the turkeys a little different. And I know that the first time I hear a doe bleating, I was out public land. They have duck hunters out there that hunt onto the river. And I just figure, I'm out duck hunting, and I get bored. I'll start messing around with the call. Either you're going to hear it or not hear it. If there's no ducks flying, I'm just going to mess around with the call. So that's what I
Yeah.
thought it was, a duck hunter just messing around with his call. And then I seen the deer that there was, I think 2 does or 3 does. So I get on my grunt call, and instead of doing a grunt, you're like, I went, it was a terrible call. The doe that was bleeding just kept walking, but the other doe that was come run underneath my tree stand. I think she stopped when she hit my pole rope. So I'm looking through my stand at my feet at her.
Yeah.
And that's when I had 2 tags. So the first archery tag, I'd shoot. I didn't care what it was. I would shoot it, just get meat in the freezer. And then after that, I'd hunt for bucks only until like December timeframe, and then I'd go ahead and fill it. Well, this is the time when it's not early enough to just shoot another doe. So because I didn't want to cut my season too short, but I didn't want to eat a tag, So
All right.
I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, I just sit there and just kind of watched it because I wasn't shooting it. I get out and Randy, the guy I was hunting with, he said, say, yes, I seen two does. Why did you shoot one? Well, it wasn't a buck. I'm only hunting bucks right now. I've got another couple weeks before I'm going to start even considering taking a doe because I'd already had one. Now, if it's been
Yeah,
the first one, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. But yeah, that was kind of weird. I even messed up the call so bad. It didn't sound like any buck or any animal that I ever heard. But yet that doe knew where that sound come, and she's running underneath my tree stand and stops right underneath my tree stand.
you never know, do you?
I couldn't have shot it if I wanted to because I'd have to
Too
shoot through my tree
close.
stand
Yeah.
and
I,
straight
I
down. You can't shoot straight down.
yeah, I had a spike buck one time. I had a hunting out of a ladder stand, and the buck was between the ladder and the tree. He's directly underneath me. How he got there and why he got there, I don't know. But I mean, he walked in there and he was sniffing around and he's going right under me.
Yeah, I was up in one of my tree stands, and here comes this little buck in here. He comes walking in, and he stands 10 yards away from my tree stand. He's just standing there. And it's like, I'm not going to shoot the little one. I just watch him. He's going to tell if another bigger buck comes in because he's going to look at it. So
Yeah,
he's my alert that something bigger is coming in. And no, he just kind of moseyed off. And, I wasn't going to shoot him. He was too small to shoot for a buck. If I'm going to shoot a deer that size, I'm going to shoot a doe. Let the buck walk. And I know I had one time I was in a tree stand, and we were hunting on the opposite side of the tracks where we drive in, and I parked my truck not too far away from the pond that was down there. A deer was walking right behind my truck. I could have shot it from the bed of my truck.
mm,
And out of that same tree stand, I had a doe and a fawn come walking in, and the fawn beds down 10 yards from my tree stand. The doe walks off. Here's this fawn bedded down 10 yards
mm,
from my tree stand. I'm just sitting there watching it, you
yeah,
know, waiting for now for another deer to come in. I'd have shot the other doe. But
yeah,
so eventually the doe come back and picked up her fawn and took off.
yeah. One time I was hunting and I was gun hunting that day. I was up in a tree and I saw the spike buck coming. And he walks right up to my tree and he lays down. And he lays down for like 30 seconds and then all of a sudden he jumps up like he looks straight up at me. We make eye contact and he goes like, "Oh crap, what have I done?" And he just starts walking off and I just watched him walk on off. And it wasn't 10 minutes later, a coyote came on the same exact trail. And the coyote got about 20 yards from me and he stopped. He turned around and took off back the other way, but he made the fatal mistake of stopping and turning
Oh,
back and looking. And I shot the coyote. Now, that buck, he sit there for 30 seconds. Then I guess he smelt me. And then he looked right up at me. Well, he knew I was there. And
yeah.
I guess the coyote noticed it beforehand, but he should have never turned around.
Yeah. Well, good for you. Bad for the coyote, right?
Yes. That's one of the things that I'm trying to do on my farm the last couple of years is to help the deer and the turkeys is by eliminating some of the predators, the nest predators for turkeys and coyotes and bobcats and stuff for the deer. But it's hard. I've tried trapping some of them. It's a tough thing to do when I've got quite a few raccoons and stuff, the nest predators. But if you don't balance the predator prey, then you're not going to have there's many opportunities for your game animals. So I would much rather have turkeys and deer than I would have coyotes and raccoons and bobcats and stuff. But there are seasons on bobcats. Coyotes are wide open, but just do it within the legal framework, and you try to help yourself that way.
Yeah, there's season here in Nebraska on coyotes and coon. You got to trap them.
Yeah,
I suppose you could shoot them too, but
I trap the coons and I shoot them too, but there's
yeah,
not much money in their pelts anymore.
no. And the farmer I'm hunting, I run into him at the farm supply place up here, and he said, "So what are you doing?" So I'm getting some coyote food, or not some raccoon food. So he's feeding the coons Like, well, it probably wouldn't like me shooting the coons too much, but
You don't need to tell him that.
yeah, I'll shoot them where you don't see them. And now the coyotes, a different story. There's some coyotes that run around there, and we got some turkeys that come through there, and there's a small group of quail that come through there, and lots of coons and not as quite as many coyotes as what I thought on cameras, but still too many.
Yeah, when I see my feeder's got 5 coons on, it's time to do something. I
Yeah,
start trapping them. So anyway, gotta balance it out, or you won't have any animals to go hunt for too long.
yeah, and that area is such a night area anyway that if we can get rid of them, they might stay a little bit more too. Get rid of some of the
Yeah.
coons and
I know we lose habitat every day, every year.
yeah,
Try to enhance what I have, and then try to limit the predators on what I have, and that helps. So
yeah. I'm gonna try and get out and get some corn and protein out there for them to eat, so I have something to eat. Keep them on the property a little bit better. And
yeah, keep them, make them survive the winters too. Till spring green up, it's going to be survival time for them.
it's going to be a while before they get any green around here.
Yeah.
Now I do have a mineral block down in one spot, um, but we don't have any of the corn, so I need to get out there and get some corn and protein or something, some nutritional stuff for them to eat.
Yeah.
And there's so much snow on there, I might have to kind of beat down a spot to put the corn down, or get it in a feeder or something where it's up a little higher. And
Yeah. The feeder I was talking about a minute ago, I had 5 coons on. It's a gravity type feeder where they reach up and get some out of the feeder, and gravity feeds down as they eat, but keeps it up off the ground as more. But the coons, they'll still get it. But squirrels too, but they can get to it. They'll do it.
yeah, you don't want to get it too high because then the deer don't really get to it.
Right, exactly. But there's a happy medium in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Well, get them out to let the coons come to them and trap the coons, right? Same
yeah,
thing with
well, I'm
coyotes.
trying to get rid of the coons for the turkeys. They're nest raiders, so it won't be too long before the spring will come, and we'll be chasing after them. I'll be chasing after them anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got about 3 dozen turkeys that roam around in the field about a mile away, right for the highway, and I'm gonna see if I can get them to come across the highway and set up right across the highway and see if I can shoot some.
Yeah. Turkey will go where he wants to go. If he don't want to come across there, he won't. If he
Yeah.
does, he might even fly across there. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know where they go when they get down. I see them in the field as I'm leaving town, but I don't know where they roost. I've never really caught them roost. I catch them quite a few times walking across the road,
Yeah.
alongside the road. Don't know exactly where they're coming from, but right now, I don't think I want to traipse around in the snow to find them.
No, I wouldn't either right now. A lot of times deer and turkeys won't winter the same place as summer. So
Yeah,
you just you got to be a little closer to the season to be able to really do much good on that.
yeah, and with 20-some-mile-an-hour winds, they may not be in the trees.
They're not well. Turkeys do roost in trees, but they will be in a tree somewhere. They're hanging on for dear life, maybe. But
Yeah, I've been in tree stand when it was only probably 8-inch diameter tree, wasn't really big, and the
yeah,
wind kicked up, and I'm holding onto the tree stand just to keep from getting blown out of the tree. And I got my safety belt on, but I couldn't draw if I had to. And
yeah.
the only deer I seen when it's that windy is they're running. I never seen them walking. They're always running, because they get
Mm,
up where they're at. They're just gonna run.
yeah.
And finally it's like, okay, calm down just enough I could get down out of the tree stand. Like I ain't getting in that one no more. Not if there's gonna be any wind.
Not that small. I remember one time that I was deer hunting, and it gotten down below maybe single digits. And I've been out in my stand for about 2 hours and the deer came in it, the doe. So, well, I'll go ahead and shoot this. I could not pull my bow back. I'd sit there in the cold for a couple of hours and I could not pull my bow back. So I just let my bow down and went home.
Been there, done that. When I get in the tree stand, I like to go ahead and draw my bow back, make sure everything's all right. And
Yeah.
I went to do that and I could not pull it back. And I was shooting 70 pounds. And you shoot throughout the summer. Well, hunting season started and I didn't really do much shooting. And I'm doing everything I can to try and draw that bow back, and I cannot get it drawn back. And then of course I'm hurting for about a week because I pulled something. But
Yeah.
later on, once I says, okay, either I get down or I sit here. I sat there and the sun come up and I warmed up a little bit and I was able to draw my bow back, but man, that was painful.
Yeah. You don't think about those things until it happens, really.
Yeah. So now the key to remember off that is make sure you're still shooting it throughout hunting season.
Yeah.
And that my bow shoots broadheads one way and field tips completely different spot. So when I practice that bow with the field tips, it's not hitting where my broadheads hit. But I don't care because I know the broadheads hit because I tuned it to make sure the broadheads hit where where I'm aiming. So I know the
Yeah.
broadheads are on. I don't care. I'm just going through muscle memory shooting and everything. And that's one of the keys is don't quit shooting when hunting season starts.
Right. Exactly.
When it gets cold and you got all these clothes on, you may not be able to draw your bow back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a totally different scenario when you're practicing in summer than when it turns turns cold and into fall. It changes everything. I believe your bow might shoot just a little bit different if you left it in your vehicle overnight, or
Oh yeah.
it just you got to be comfortable with your shot, whatever it is. But still, it does play a little bit in on it.
Well, when it gets, as cold as, we're talking about the coldest days like today, in the next couple days, uh, any oils or greases that have on it is going to be stiffer. The limbs are going to be colder and stiffer. Your
Mm-hmm.
strings aren't going to be as loose. It may not roll around like it normally does. And besides, you're colder. And then the opposite, when you go into, shooting your 90, 100-degree weather, you're out there, everything's going to be loosened up a little bit more. Your string's going to be a little warmer. It's going to more likely going to stretch a little bit on you. Or it's going to act a little different. So your bow does act differently depending on the weather,
Yes, the
and you
temperature and
act
the
differently
weather.
depending on weather.
Yes, for sure. That's just one thing to keep in mind. But most of my shots, like you were talking about, are 20 yards or less, or somewhere in that range. Maybe a little bit different, but it hopefully won't be enough that you cause you to not not harvest a deer or a turkey or whatever you're shooting at. But it's good reason to practice all during the season.
Yeah, yeah, that's the last time I didn't do any shooting at all during hunting season. I may not shoot a lot, but I'm going to go do some shooting during the hunting season.
Uh, just to
Once, yeah,
keep everything where it needs to be.
yeah. Now I don't shoot near as much as I used to, and as you get older, you get other things going on, and
Yeah, well, in Kentucky, they've made the crossbow season darn near the same as bow season. So it's just easier to shoot a crossbow than it is a bow anymore. Not, and I still bow hunt, I still crossbow hunt, I still muzzleloader hunt, I still rifle hunt. I do it all, but it just, especially in certain time frames, it just depends on where I hunt too.
yeah,
I still like hunting with a regular bow though. And that's the, I think that, well, gun season and archery season are light years apart. They're two different sports almost. You're after the
yeah,
same animal, but it's a whole nother way of doing business. Sure.
yeah. With the bow, you're setting up for that 20-yard or less shot, and with a gun, you're setting up for a 100-yard shot or lower. But
Yeah.
when I was out, it was like a 60, 70-yard shot. With rifle with a scope on it. That's kind of a chip shot for that. But I know what I was doing a lot of archery hunting, and I would go out during rifle. And it's like time I seen this deer out at 100 yards, and that time I think had my 30-30, so it's just iron sights on it. And I was like, it's too far. I'm bow hunter mode. This I'm not. It's too far. Although with that same rifle, I was shooting, the dish soap containers, the small ones that we used to have, like a quart size.
Yeah.
Shooting those at 100 yards with my 30-30s. So I was like, I could shoot it, but my mind was still in bow hunter mode, and that's too far away.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely need to know your limits, and when it gets beyond your limits, just watch them.
Yeah, yeah, and
You're
it
not
was
comfortable.
too far. It was just my thought was it's too far because I didn't switch to gun mode. I was still in archery
Yeah.
mode. Now when I go with my rifle, I've got the new one I got. It's a Browning X-Bolt in 30-06, and at out to 300 yards, I'm within 3 inches of where I'm aiming. So it's only at 300 yards, it's got about a 3.5 inch drop, about an inch and a half high at 100, dead on at 200. So
Yeah.
I I don't hold as steady as I used to. I remember last time I took it down the ranges for rifle season, I'm sitting here and I'm watching my heartbeat in the scope. They say shoot between heartbeats. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm seeing this, my heartbeat throbbing in the scope.
Yeah.
Well, when you turn it up to 16 power and you're at 26 yards, you're going to see any movement. And the only movement was, I could tell, every time my heart would beat, the scope would move. Heartbeat,
Yeah.
scope move, heartbeat, scope move.
Yeah. It's all fun.
Yeah. No matter what you're shooting, it's fun.
It is. Definitely.
So, what's been probably your most memorable hunt? I know you talked about kind of challenging ones, but what's your most memorable hunt you've been on?
Uh, it was another turkey hunt, I think. It was one I took my son and we doubled on two turkeys. I mean, it just we got there weren't tremendous turkeys or anything, but it was the fact that we were both ready and we said, all right, when you shoot, I'm gonna shoot kind of thing. And boom, boom, and we killed two birds.
Oh,
That was just a neat thing to happen to do with your son.
yeah, that is. That would be a lot of fun to take two of them. It's like, okay, you take the left one, I'll take the right one, and
Yeah.
we're ready. Okay, go. Bang, bang.
So that was a neat hunt. I don't know. One of the, I guess that the first deer that I ever killed was a pretty memorable hunt too. I was up in a ladder stand and the it was the first one I'd ever killed. It was with a gun. It was a 7 point buck, but it just the way it happened. A friend of mine and I hunted with some other people, and I got put with one of the other guys I didn't really even know. So they took us to a place and said, "Do you guys hunt this field? We're going to go to another farm and we're going to hunt this other field." So we did. So Jim, the other guy, and I, we went in. He said, "I'll take this side." He said, "I'll take that side." We walked down this cornfield and had a creek on one side, I guess, and woods and stuff on the other side. Got up in the stands, had a climbing stand. Got up in it, and I saw some deer across the cornfield. It's probably 100 yards or so away, moving through the edge of the woods. And then a few minutes later, I heard a boom. Jim shoots the deer, and I see him get down out of his stand. He had to climb the stand too. So I got down. I walked over to him. Of course, we didn't know where we really were. We were just this is where we were told we were supposed to hunt. So we hunted it. So he said, "I killed a 5 point buck." He said, "My puppy." He said, "I'm gonna go back." It was cold. He said, "I'm gonna go back to the truck, drink a cup of coffee, warm up. In about an hour, I'll come out here and get the deer." So he said, "Won't you come get in my stand?" He says, "On this point, it's a great spot. You see real good." So I went and got in his stand, and I had a borrowed gun too. I had a shotgun with slugs, and this other guy convinced me I need to take his gun. He had a custom made gun. But anyway, the I take a deer comes out across the field as a 7-point buck, and I get him in the scope and I pull the trigger and nothing happens. Well, when I got down, I unloaded the gun. I got back up. Evidently, I didn't push the bolt all the way to the bolt action gun. So I backed the bolt out, put it back in. The deer stopped and turned around. Then I shot him. But that first deer was a big thrill too. Now I told you about that first deer I'd killed with a bow, but still, it's the first deer ever was that one, and that was a big thrill. So I'd hunted for several years and not killed a deer, and not really knowing what I was doing very well. So that was a big deal to go do that.
Yeah, I think I probably hunted 5 or 6 years before I got my first shot.
Well, like I said, there wasn't that many deer in Kentucky at that point in time, really. And then they started really moving them around and trapping them and releasing them, and the population started growing. That's the one that started happening. That was back in 1982, I think. So
Yeah, we didn't have a large population here. That's why you only had 2 tags.
yeah.
And when I started, it was 2 tags. Prior to that, I think probably in the 60s or 70s, I forget where it was. There was only 1 tag. You only got 1 permit to take 1 deer. Yeah, and now then to grow from that is, they're kind of taking over.
I can't remember exactly on the seasons, but there might have been like 2 weekends you could hunt, and you may have been able to kill more than 1 buck at that point in time, but been so long ago, I don't really remember. I was just lucky to kill a deer at that point. But it's been a lot of fun learning and chasing them around the woods and trying to figure them out.
Yeah, that's something that you think you got them figured out, and then they throw a curve at you, and it's like,
Yeah,
okay, I thought I had this figured out. No, not anymore.
yeah,
Something
yeah.
changed.
I've done that many times. Thinking I'm going to go this morning. I know the deer are going to be there. I don't see anything. But that's part of it. They don't do the same thing every day, and their patterns change pretty regularly. But they may go to a certain field, but they may not come out here, or they may come out 100 yards away, or they may come out at dark, or they may come out at light. You just never know.
Yeah.
They might have had a coyote chasing them, and something changed, or they don't do the same thing every day all the time for sure. Or the predators will figure them out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just so many things that's the fun part, is trying to figure out what's going on and how to make them do what you want them to do, because they don't want to do what you want to do. They want to do what they want to do. And so we
Yeah,
got,
last year I bought a deer decoy, and I killed my deer early in the year, and I didn't get to use it. But this year I tried it out a few times, and I had some small bucks come out there and look at it, and they're like 4-pointers or spikes, and they didn't want to have anything to do with my decoy. I was trying to grunt at them, and it was fun to mess with them, but they really wasn't getting too close. I was hoping a big boy would show up and I'd have to get a shot at him using that decoy, but got to do a little rattling, do a little grunting, just something a little different.
yeah, when you're making noises like that and they look over your area, they know where the sound comes from and don't see anything, that is like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah. But you get a visual out there, and hopefully but it didn't, only the smaller bucks showed up when I was messing with them. So I was hoping for a counter with a bigger deer, but it didn't happen. So you get the deer out there at 20 or 30 yards, and it's still fun to watch them, the posture that they do, and one thing or another.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're interesting to watch what they do and see what's going on. I know when I was out this last year during rifle, I'm sitting on, not all up to it, part way up the hill. So where we've got permission on the other side of where I got my ladder stand, there's a fence row there and row of trees. The other property on the side, we can't hunt there because we don't have permission to hunt there yet. So I see this doe come come in and stops right probably 20 yards from my ladder stand on the wrong side of the property. So I'm waiting for it to come over. I'm getting ready. I got the camera. I got the camera running and on there and then I didn't notice it take off, but then I noticed like two more deer come running through the field up in the other corner, and this one took off with it and run off. So something had spooked the other two and then pulled this one off because I was hoping to come over on our side of the fence so that I could shoot it because it was, like 65-yard shot. It's like put the crosshairs where I want it to go and shoot. But no, they run off, but I got video on it, so that was one thing. I didn't find on my phone if I zoom in too far, does one of those that goes in and out, in and out. It doesn't know how to focus.
Oh,
When you zoom
yeah.
in too far, it's like, oh, okay. So I got it going in. I had to back it back out a little bit. And it's kind of nice. I got on my phone, I can control my watch and my phone from my watch. And that's pretty cool. So I can look at it and I can zoom in.
Tweak it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tweak it, but I found on my phone if I just kind of pulled on the sign, I can get the camera started quicker. Because it takes a while for the watch to sync up with it and get it all going.
Yeah.
And and then I recorded some of the sunrises because I was sitting here, I was facing east, so I get to see all the sunrises. So I showed the sunrise and a couple of pictures, and there was kind of some neat pictures. When you get to see the sunrise like that, and we don't normally see the sunrise, although now because sun don't get up till about 8 o'clock in the morning. So a lot of people are already up then.
Yeah.
Driving to work, I'm driving to work in the dark because I sure don't want to drive with the sun in my eyes. Because I drive east to go to work and drive west to come home. So if I'm driving at sunrise, it's in my eyes. And driving home,
Yeah.
So yeah, either I leave earlier or I leave later.
Yeah. Another memorable hunt I can think of is in Kentucky. I think it was 97. They brought elk back to Kentucky from different states out west. And I don't remember how many years, there's 3 or 4 years before they actually had a season on them. And I got drawn for one of the elk hunts in 2009. Now I got drawn for a bull elk in Kentucky. So I was able to harvest an 8x6 bull elk. I never elk hunted and haven't since then. That's my only one and only elk hunt, but it was a really neat experience to go out to eastern Kentucky, and they had a lot of reclaimed coal mines where they had stripped it all off and terraced it off, and it was just a different kind of hunting that I'd never done before. And it was a really neat experience because I went the week before we went there. I went to the Golly River in West Virginia with some of my brothers and some of my friends to do the Golly River in the end of September, 1st of October. And that is a rowdy place to go. So I went from over there instead of coming back home across the state. I just went to eastern Kentucky and stayed over there, camped out over there all week. And the guy that was my outfitter over there, he'd leave every morning and drive through his properties and look at the elk and watch them. And then in the evening, he'd do the same thing. So twice a day, he'd drive through, and I got to go with him. And I saw tons of elk, got to see fighting, chasing, bugling, just everything before they got really disturbed by guns going off. So that was a neat experience too.
Yeah.
So I've turkey hunted in Mexico and actually elk hunted in Kentucky and killed a elk in Kentucky, which is a neat thing. And another, you asked me a while ago, another thing that was neat, one of my sons, my younger son, that didn't really do much hunting, both my kids went to Murray State University, 50 miles from Paducah. And my youngest one didn't really like Murray as well as my oldest one did. But anyway, my wife went up there and got him involved with the National Exchange Program. He went one semester. You can do it in your junior and senior year. You can do 2 semesters total. He went one semester at University of Alaska, Anchorage, and did a semester there. It was nice and green and lush when he first got there, but the end of the first semester, it was dark and cold. And he came home, and then that was his junior year. And in the senior year, he went to University of Hawaii, Hilo. So he had 2 different schools. They're all in the same network. we paid the tuition and stuff to Murray just like we would normally, just had to get there. Anyway, he liked it out there, and we went to visit him one time. My wife said, "We need to go visit him." I said, "No, he'll be back home for long." And then I found out they had turkeys out on the big island where he lived. So we went to Hilo on the big island of Hawaii, and I killed two turkeys out there while we were visiting him. They don't have much public hunting. I had one hunt with an outfitter out there, then another hunt on private or public, and I was able to kill two birds. But anyway, I've gone traveling a little bit for turkeys.
Kind of sound like me. Most of my vacations are a hunting trip.
Yeah.
I'm just not too much into going to, some of these theme parks and spending all the money. I've done some of those when I was a kid, but I'd rather go out and go on a fishing trip or a hunting trip or something like that than just go seeing the sights. And although I've done that here, not a few years ago, we went down to Branson for a while, and then a couple other places down in Kentucky, and seen some shows down there. And
Well, several years ago, I went to Nebraska to turkey hunt, and I was going with my buddy David, and David's mom fell and hit her head and ended up in the nursing home. So he said, "I've already paid for all my stuff." He said, "But I can't go. I got to stay home and help my mom." So he did. So I went out there by myself. It was on the Indian reservation on the west side of Nebraska. And I think there was 6 guys from Mississippi there. I think they felt sorry for me. But we got to be friends, talked, and then a few years later on, the guy came to Kentucky and hunted with me, and then we went down to Mississippi and I hunted with him. We took our wives, and she said, "Who are these people?" I said, "Well, I can't really. Just what I've met him. He's a good guy." And so we ended up. It was a wonderful time. But you just never know where you might meet your next friend, kind of thing.
yeah,
We still stay in touch, even though it's been several years since he's hunted. But I call him every once in a while and talk to him. And it's a lot of good people out there. You just let them be good people.
yeah.
A lot of people that are not, but there's a lot of people that are.
Well, and those that aren't, you just kind of don't talk to them no more.
Yeah, you shake your dust off your feet and go on.
Yeah.
Move on to the
Sometimes you
next
gotta
one.
get rid of something like that don't help you get better.
Yeah.
Don't think you have to hold on to them.
Yeah. But I've enjoyed my different places of going hunting quite a bit. Most of those have been turkey hunting. I rarely go out of state for deer hunting. Not much at all, but I enjoy bow hunting and all the different. One year I killed 5 deer in Kentucky, 1 buck, 4 does. I killed one with my gun. I killed 2 with a muzzle loader. Killed one with a crossbow and one with my bow. So I killed them with the 4 different seasons they have. I called it my Kentucky Slam with all 4 different ways of 4 different seasons that were in on it. So you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
So it's been great talking with you.
Yes, sir.
Always like to hear all the stories and experiences and learn something from everybody that I talk to, and hopefully our audience learns as well. That's kind of what I like to do, and this is just help other archers out. And
Yeah.
like I said, it's been really great talking to you, and we'll have to do this again one of these days and hear how you're doing. And
Yeah. Like I said, been a outfitter for the last 6 years, but I'm not 100% sure I'm going to do it again. But I have a website, or I have a Facebook page, Followell Hunts. Somebody can be my friend if they want to do.
oh yeah,
See a lot of stuff there.
yeah, I'll put a link in the description, so if they want to look you up, they can look you up. And
I just took down my Followell Hunts website the other day because I've got enough. Pretty much, if I want to keep doing that repeat business, repeat customers, I'm just a small operation, but I still have a lot of fun doing it. have got some people have been here 5 years. So yeah, I had got to make up my mind what I want to do for sure. But I think
Yeah.
I'm gonna probably pull the plug on that because I spend a lot of days in the woods scouting for other people, basically. About time for me to just do it for my own for a while.
Scout for your own self,
Yeah,
and then a few people that you like to go hunting with, and
yeah. Kind of tone it down just a little bit
yeah.
because you got to pace yourself when you got 5 month bow season. To,
Yeah.
you can't go every day or it'll kill you.
Yeah, yeah. It's, especially as we get older, it's like, okay, I don't want to go out every day.
Yeah, you just have to pick and choose
Yeah.
your days to go. And it like I may go in the morning because, like I said, this morning it was 44 degrees, and tomorrow it's going to be 22. So there's a big drop in temperature, and I may go out in the morning, and because I'm just about to run out of season.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to try and finish out the rest of this season here this weekend when our highs are zero and below.
Well,
I don't
you'd be
think I want to get out in that kind of weather.
you'd be tougher than I am, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stay in most of the day here.
I don't
Well,
blame
I
you
stayed
there.
in all day today. I didn't gone out and trying to shovel snow. My wife went out and to take a picture of the snow that was drifting between the two cars, and
Hmm.
she had to push snow with the screen door to get it open.
Yeah,
So it's piled up on that first step. So they get that, and I don't know, it's
yeah,
probably 4 feet tall in between the two cars.
yeah. You got to pick and choose, and that's definitely not one you want to choose.
No, no. We may go somewhere tomorrow, but we're gonna have to shovel out and
Yeah,
get um at least well, the one car, I don't think it'd take too much to get the cars out, but it's the pile in between them.
yeah,
And my wife's car, the doors are all froze on it, so we can't even get in that one anyway. So we'll have to take the little one that I drive all the time because it at least was opened up, and I don't know, but
well, I appreciate it, Roy.
yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and like I said, if you want to watch this, we can watch it on the Facebook group, Learn to Fix It Yourself, or you can watch it on a YouTube channel, Learn to Fix It Yourself.
Yeah,
The Arch Talk 101 Facebook group is a good group to get into, and if you're not a member of it, then join it because there's a lot of good archers in there. We don't sell anything in that group, so it's all
yeah,
providing value to you, and that comes out on podcast is on Spotify. I think it's on Apple Podcast. You can also go out to Audible and listen to it out there for free. So it's out
okay.
there in several places, and get a hold of us. Have any questions? Ask us. We're glad to
Yeah,
help.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
You
Appreciate
take
you being
care.
on here. It's been a lot of fun. My name is Roy, and I've been your host today on Arch Talk 101, and we'll see you on the next one.
Leave meeting.